David Tomášek, who had an interview with Jason Gregor that is up now at OilersNation.com. And one of the things Gregor said, Tomášek much bigger than he's listed.
Yeah, he said he's about 6'2", 210, I think.
Yeah, like that's a big boy.
Yeah.
Being that height, north of 200 pounds, like he has a chance to be a bit of a physical threat. Gregor asked him, are you more comfortable as a center or as a winger? He said, the last 2 years I was a center. On the national team, I played center and wing, so I don't care. Whatever fits them better. I loved reading. Did you read the whole interview?
I did.
His whole mindset is just like, how can I be the best for the Oilers? How can I be the best for the Oilers? And he talked about how over the last few years, he's had offers to come over, but they were one-way offers. The Oilers were two-way offers. Yeah. The Oilers were the first team to, Bowman and company flew to Sweden to go see him and meet him and shake his hand. And the Oilers were the first team to really commit to him with a one-way deal. And that's why he finally felt like at age 29, now's a good time for him to make the jump over. He did play junior against Connor McDavid, Darnell Nurse, and Andrew Mangiapane. I found that cool. But you liked his quote about what he's been doing around the city.
Yeah, so obviously he'd never been to Edmonton before by the sounds of it and getting used to the city and everything. And Gregor asked him, what have you been up to? And he said, I've been wandering around the river valley. And he said it was beautiful. He also went to Little Brick and Dog Patch, which is where we work. So,
what a shout out.
To be honest, I could fall over David Tomášek in the street and wouldn't know it was him. So,
I think if you saw a guy that was 6'2", 210 pounds, you might be like, that's an athlete. Athletes.
Oh, I think maybe, yeah, but I wouldn't know it was him.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I thought that was like a very interesting thing. I was reading the article. It just like kind of came out and stood out to me. But we'll see what he's like. He's a major wild card.
Yeah.
Position will be interesting, like you said, like can play center. But looks like you're probably playing the right wing. Sounds like he's a really good skater. Gregor kind of pointed out in the article, and I think Tomášek said it a bit too, of like, when you play in Sweden, it's not really about like being physical. It's about skating because the ice is so much bigger. Like there's not. He said he's like, if you hit in that league, you kind of get thrown out of position, and that's not to say he's not a physical guy. I mean, 6'2", 210. So I'd imagine he can throw his butt around a little bit. But yeah, I'm very curious what he's going to become, especially if Zach Hyman misses the start of the season, like it sounds like he's gonna. Like, how long does that end up being? Can Tomášek, can he chip in and have a healthy start to the season whilst Hyman comes back? Maybe that gives Hyman an extra week, for example, to stay off if he can come in and be a bit of a presence. So he's the player probably I'm most intrigued about coming into camp because I just don't know what to think of it.
Yeah. Chester says, man, I realize all these fresh players could be good surprises, but I'm somewhat uncomfortable with the number of wingers that are being depended on to make a difference. And Gregor talked about this at the end of his article. Like you just said, Zach Hyman hasn't shot a puck yet this offseason. That's not exactly an encouraging sign for him being ready to go in October. It might take him a bit to get rolling. But Gregor says, and we talked about this last week, if there was going to be a good regular season team, they're going to need career years from a couple guys, or close to career years. Yeah. And, who could those guys be? Like Savoy, Howard, Tomášek, Podkolzin. Those are great candidates. Gregor talked about Mangiapane. He scored more than 18 goals once. He's managed to get to 30. Like, if Mangiapane can get you 25 and Tomášek, like, let's flip this. What's Tomášek's ceiling in your eyes?
Well, I thought one thing, that was interesting is he did lead either his team in Sweden or the Swedish league, whatever it was, in goals.
Yep.
He had 24 one season, 25 the other. So knows how to put the puck in the net.
Goal every other game in a league, that's tough to do it in.
Yeah, very defensive-minded league. With that said, it's obviously a big jump. Like, is 12 to 15 goals, like, reasonable to ask? I don't think that's unfair to suggest.
When we talked to Stephen Ellis, he kind of made it seem like a 12-goal bottom six guy is, like, right in the wheelhouse of what he could be.
That's
so
promising.
If that's what he could be, if he is a positive surprise, what if he gets you 15 goals?
Then I think you're laughing. I think
that's found money.
That's great. Yeah, exactly. And credit to the staff for going out and finding a guy who I know he hasn't done anything yet, but looks to be capable of doing it.
Yep.
A lot of these guys come from Europe and they just end up on the fourth line. They don't do anything, and maybe that's what Tomášek is, and hopefully not. But I think when you go back and look at Bowman's history, like, he has a really good resume of plays he's brought over from Europe. Even, like, obviously Panarin being the top one, but there's a lot of the guys.
Marcus Kruger.
There's another guy too. Pius Suda was a guy he brought over. There was another fella, I forget his name. I wrote an article about it a few months ago. But there's honestly like a good 10 players in there that he brought over. It was like really solid. Even a couple of goalies. Like he found Antti Ranta, and there was another guy too. I'm terrible with names, but he found him. Kevin Lankinen.
There you go. And Pius Suter, like a little bit different because he came over at 24.
Yep,
yeah.
for sure.
But again, he was doing it in the Swiss A League. Like doing it in the SHL is a different beast than doing it in the Swiss A League. Like a guy, like a Gaetan Haas and all of that. So
because the SHL is probably the second best European league, right?
Yep.
Behind KHL.
Yeah, KHL, SHL. I think that's fair. I just hope they have a plan to adjust if needed by the deadline. These guys don't. If these guys don't take quite the step as quickly as contending teams need. Yeah, but I also think this goes hand in hand with the Oilers, having depth and giving players a legitimate opportunity.
Yeah.
And, maybe we'll look back on Zach Hyman missing however much time he could potentially miss as a bit of a blessing in disguise, because it could force Chris Knobloch to not just be running a blender and, not just team up McDavid and Draisaitl when the scoring needs to get done. Like, maybe some guys will get legitimate, honest opportunities, and that. What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.